Welcome to Today. On this Wednesday morning, we're sitting here shaking our heads at this because Andrew's ferocity is something to behold.
Just won't let up, will he? And he's spawning all those tornadoes, which are wreaking even more havoc in various areas of Louisiana. It's really dangerous.
And it seems ridiculous this week. I mean, we came full circle. We started talking about how bad it was. Then we hoped it would be better. Now it turns out to be the worst storm on record, certainly in terms of financial disaster.
Damage estimates in Florida alone, $15 billion. Some people think that's a bit high, but certainly is a very expensive
That doesn't
hurricane.
even count the toll in Louisiana, which we're going to get to. Andrew has already claimed at least 17 lives also in Florida and the Bahamas. This morning, as noted, it roared ashore in Louisiana with high winds, heavy rains, and tornadoes. Just moments ago, I spoke with Dr. Bob Sheets, the National Hurricane Center. He gave us an update on Hurricane Andrew.
Well, Bryant, the eye of the hurricane is over New Iberia at this time. In fact, the Emergency Operations Center reported a wind to 120 miles per hour. It's now moving toward Lafayette. The eye wall is probably crossing that area right now.
120 miles an hour. Does that mean it's losing some steam?
It's, yes, it is losing speed. We expect it to lose quite a bit more. Our radar picture here indicates that the eye has become a little less defined there. And so over land, then we see some diminishing of the winds.
How far west, how far north do you expect it to proceed today?
Well, the storm now is not the, well, still winds right now, but it's the spread out of the rain and the heavy rains, flash floods, and tornadoes they're going to have. I think they've already had about 6 reported there, and that's going to be over there for about the next day or two.
It's going to take that long to dissipate?
That's right. It's moving very slowly. Right here's the eye of the storm. It's moving very slowly, and of course it's pulling that warm, moist air up off the Gulf of Mexico, and so the diminishing process is a little slow, and then going to turn to the north. But that large green area you're seeing there, that's all rain, and that's going to be around there for a couple of days.
Can you project how far west, how far north it might yet proceed?
Our forecast is that it will proceed a little bit farther west than the Lafayette area, and then start to turn more towards the north-northwest, and then north, and then finally, after about 24 to 36 hours, turn towards the northeast.
So right now, you've got relative good news for those people along the Gulf Coast in Texas.
Yes, we don't think that we're going to have any hurricane conditions over there. They may get some of these bands that you're seeing here spread in that area and get some rain from that, but not any hurricane conditions.
But bottom line, Andrew will be with us for at least another day, maybe a day and a half.
Yes, in fact, it'll be a severe problem for them because they've always had a flash flood problem anyway because of all the rains they've been having.
Okay, Dr. Bob Sheets, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Even as Andrew is attacking Louisiana, President Bush this morning has already declared parts of that state a major disaster area. Andrew hit the Louisiana coast near Morgan City with 140-mile-an-hour winds, dealing New Orleans only a glancing blow before heading inland and weakening slightly. Still a powerful storm, it's heading now towards Lafayette. That's where Bob Hager is trying to stay rooted this morning amid the wind. Good morning, Bob.
Brian, it's blowing up a pretty good storm already here. The winds have picked up. There's been a lot of damage already, some roofs off of houses, some trees down. They've closed a lot of roads in this area, and the shelters are jammed. Let's take a look at some of those winds now. The leading edge of the storm that devastated South Florida. Still at it this morning, now in the heart of Louisiana's Cajun country. 2,000 people huddled in one of many shelters in Lafayette. When the wind picked up, they were awakened at 3 a.m. and moved into windowless hallways to protect them from the danger of flying glass. Monica Monks with her son, Daniel.
Everybody, we watched what happened in Florida, and we watched all the pictures on TV, and it was, this morning we knew we were not going to be home this evening.
Mary Gracebow with her 2 daughters and husband.
Well, it's scary. Our land is low. So we got out.
People of a region who've learned to be wary of big storms, with names like Audrey, 400 dead in 1957, Betsy, 75 dead in 1965. People who respect the storm. As Bob Sheets mentioned, this storm is moving more slowly now, and that's one of the fears here. Because it's moving more slowly, gives it more chance to dump rain on this area. They're worried about 5 to 10 inches of rain. That could do a lot of damage not only to property, but to the sugarcane crop as well. Bryant?
Bob, there's a heck of a question to ask a guy who's still there, but the evacuation orders, any idea to what extent the people have moved out? I mean, we saw some of the people in the shelter, but have most taken cover?
I think in the low-lying parishes that most of the people left. In a place like Lafayette, it's a little higher, so most of the people in the shelters here are from the low-lying parishes. A lot of the people in Lafayette, if they live in substantial houses, have elected to ride this out in their own homes.
Okay. Bob Hager, thank you. Earlier, Andrew hit the town of Houma, Louisiana, about 50 miles southwest of New Orleans. Jim Cummins is trying to hold his ground there. Jim, good morning.
Hold my ground is about right, Brian. As you can see, the storm is still just raging behind us. We've had just an incredible downpour in the last couple hours. We've had high winds here. Andrew began hitting Houma, Louisiana about 1 o'clock Central Time this morning. The hurricane was relentless. 60 to 120 mile-per-hour winds damaged trees and buildings, knocked down power lines, and knocked out electricity everywhere except the local hospital. So thousands of people are sitting around in the dark, most of them at emergency evacuation centers like this one, a junior high school in Houma. There have been several reports of tornadoes in this area.
There's been a lot of commotion going on. You hear them, you can see the transformers blowing up, and you hear the roaring sounds of tornadoes going on the other side of the bayou and all that kind of stuff.
Gilbert Hebert believes a twister knocked over the tree that wiped out his front porch. The big fear now, more tornadoes in the wake of this devastating hurricane. So far, we have no reports of casualties, injuries, or any deaths. Brian, it's just much too early to assess the damage here. As you can see, the storm is raging, and it is still very dark.
But for Houma, the worst is over.
It is.
All righty. Thank you very much, Jim Cummins. It is estimated, as Jim noted, that Andrew came ashore in Louisiana just after midnight, with the eye passing about 20 miles southwest, the capital of Baton Rouge, over the city of New Iberia. Roger O'Neill is on the line from there. Roger.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you is a better question.
It's been one of the most miserable nights of my life, and it hasn't eased up a bit here in New Iberia. In fact, it continually is getting worse, and it has been doing that for about 4 hours now. There is widespread damage throughout this small city. We are at a high school which is filled with probably 400 or 500 families. Part of the roof of that shelter has been blown off. Roofs all across the city have been blown off, and we've been hearing reports that the eye of this storm has moved into New Iberia. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that is untrue. It has not arrived here yet.
It has not arrived there yet?
No, sir. Not a chance has it arrived here yet.
What can you tell us about how long this has been, you've been battered there,
well,
Roger?
It started about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock Eastern time, and it has been getting progressively worse ever since. So at 7 o'clock, we're into our 5th hour now, and the wind just keeps getting worse. We have had gusts over 100. We're probably getting sustained winds of, I would guess, in the 90 to 100 mile an hour range.
Same question I asked of Bob Hager. Any idea to what extent the people took heed of the evacuation orders?
Well, we spent most of our day in Louisiana yesterday trying to find out where this storm was going, and then, I suppose, foolishly chasing it. I can tell you that the roads have been clogged all afternoon yesterday. A lot of people took heed, and I suspect because of what they saw this storm did in Florida. We don't find very many people in homes around here. They're either in shelters or they are long gone.
Okay. Roger O'Neill, thank you. And I misspoke. I said New Iberia, about 20 miles southwest of Baton Rouge, more like 60. As we noted at the top of the hour, Andrew has triggered more than a dozen destructive tornadoes, one of which hit a New Orleans suburb. At least 30 people were hurt when the tornado tore through the town of LaPlace. That's just west of New Orleans. Early reports indicate that several homes and businesses were destroyed. Even as Andrew searches for new victims, those in its wake are still trying to pick up the shattered pieces of their lives. In Florida, officials have been trying to determine a dollar toll on the damage from Hurricane Andrew, and the numbers are staggering. Early damage estimates are running as high as $15 and $20 billion, making Andrew the most costly natural disaster in U.S. history. And residents of South Florida, they're just struggling to cope. Here's Noah Nelson.
Though many communities are struggling to rebuild after the hurricane, at least 50,000 Florida residents are homeless. Some people consider themselves lucky if they have anything at all of their homes left to work with.
For this, if I wash it.
Elizabeth Ramos, whose mobile home was destroyed, does not feel lucky.
But like me, I'm homeless completely. I don't have anything. I mean, nothing. Completely nothing. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
Soggy mattresses, scattered clothes, ceilings open to the sky. It's hard for some families to believe these places were once their homes.